Welcome back to Stories with me, Spongebob Squarepants. Today's video is a request from Causey, Camden, who specifically wanted to hear me reach out to these stories of real people delivering the ultimate payback over at Reddit/nuclearrevenge. As a disclaimer, this story includes harm to animals, so a viewer discretion is certainly advised. Don't get mad, get fucking even, cause we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, "Don't mess with the sweet old lady's cat when the neighborhood has a kid who knows everyone." A little bit about me first. I was a scrapper as a kid and knew everyone in the neighborhood. I made money babysitting kids and knew the older kids because I was permitted to roam. I'm also one of those people that people will tell their darkest secrets to, and I'd earned a lot of trust in my neighborhood. I was a pack leader, and people generally did what I said. Okay, enough about me. On to the revenge. This is a bit of a long one, but you'll enjoy it. This is an old story back from when I was young. I can't remember the exact age, but it was around 9 or 10, which would be in the early 90s. I lived in a small neighborhood. There were not many kids, and the ones there were mostly older, teens. The brunt of the community was older people. The neighborhood was built in the early 40s and filled up with people after World War II, and many of them stayed here. On the block south of me was this old asshole who pretty much hated everyone. If something was a kid's, like a ball or a frisbee, and the kid asked for it back, he would destroy it right in front of them. One time a kid parked his bike in the swale, city-owned property that was outside of the home, and this asshole took the bike and destroyed it. This asshole has a major vendetta against cats. We did not have a feral cat problem, but many people, including my own, had cats that were indoor-outdoor. We were not on the main road, and there was little traffic. Most of the cats didn't go far from home, usually just went out chasing pigeons and the few garter snakes that were around. They always came home at night unless they ended up in this asshole's yard. He started by trapping cats and taking them to the pound. Many families in the neighborhood would get calls about their cats being turned in and having to get them. My family, who were well known at the pound, my mother was an animal lover to an annoying extent, and we were there often, would get calls to inform us that one of our cats was there. When asshole found out that trapping cats wasn't getting rid of them is when he escalated. He started poisoning them, but many lived because the symptoms were caught early enough. He was using antifreeze, so he escalated again, and that is when shit got serious. Suddenly cats all over the neighborhood were dying, and no one could figure out why. It wasn't until the cat of a sweet old lady got out of the house. She was indoor only, but got out during a package delivery. 3 days later, the cat showed back up, sick and dying. This woman was not poor, and this was a costly cat. Angora, I think. Maybe Persian. It was a white fluff ball, and this woman loved the cat. She took the cat to the vet, and it was determined that the cat had a belly filled with glass shards, but the damage was too massive, and the cat died while at the vet's office. This woman was furious. This got around to the neighborhood, and it was me who told that I thought I knew who did it. I thought this since my mom and I were frequent visitors to the pound. They told my mother who it was that kept bringing our cats, and with a little prodding, we found that all the cats that came from our neighborhood were brought in by the same person. I told this wonderful older woman who I thought did it, and she was a pistol. She got in her caddy and rolled up to this asshole's house and confronted him. I was a bit of a free roam kid back then, had to be home by the time the streetlights came on, so I made sure to ride my bike over to see what the fireworks would be like. She rolled up and pulled in his driveway, got out of the car, and pounded on his door. I mean pounded. Asshole opens the door and she begins softly, saying that something terrible happened to her cat, and she was just going door to door trying to find out if anyone knew what happened. Asshole responded with a reaction. I wasn't close enough to hear everything that was said because of this asshole's hatred of children, but I was close enough to hear what happened next. Sweet old lady went from 0 to bitch in 0.000000001 seconds. She poked her finger in his chest and said, "I think it was you, you craggy son of a bitch. I know that you have been taking cats to the pound, and I bet you are the one that killed my princess." Yeah, that was the cat's name. This ass just smirked and said,
"Yeah, glass in cat food and some catnip will always work to get those destructive beasts out of the neighborhood. I will keep on doing it, and you can do nothing to stop me."
Sweet old lady hauled and slapped his asshole across the face and turned around and walked back to her car. I was good friends with sweet old lady and often spent time at her house after school because she was alone and needed some company. She was always very kind to me. When I went over next, I asked what happened after she left. She told me she called the cops, but without concrete proof, there was nothing they could do. When they spoke with the asshole, he admitted trapping cats and taking to the pound, but never said anything about the glass. Sweet old lady was beside herself. Because she wanted justice for Princess, I got an evil grin my face and said, "Don't worry, you'll get justice." She looked at me and smiled and nodded her head. You see, this all happened in the first part of October. I knew just about every kid and teen in the neighborhood, free roam thing, and I told them all what happened. The total was about 20 kids/teens that I said, with about 12 of them being teens who could drive and had their incomes. I told them all what I thought we should do. I laid out the entire plot. And we all worked to get the things that we needed. When Halloween rolled around, I was unfortunately not able to participate in this because I sadly got grounded for getting into a fight with a boy in the neighborhood. I broke his nose, but he grabbed my tit. I was an early bloomer. I wasn't going to stand for that. Still, I did find out about the aftermath. Halloween night. About 15 people late in the night converged on asshole's house. As luck would have it, he was not home at the time. His car was still there, but a neighbor relayed to the group that he had left in a car with someone else. The group shattered every window and mirror in his car. Once the windows were broken, they opened the door and destroyed the interior. They poured sand in the gas tank and did something to the engine block, don't remember what. They broke every window in the house, including a sliding glass door in his backyard. All screens were shredded. And they put super glue in all the locks and super glued the mailbox shut. Once the screen was torn, they gained entry. They did not steal anything, but they destroyed the inside of his house. They spray painted everything, including the words, "For Princess," on a wall inside the home. Polaroids were taken, and I got to see the destruction. They also, just to put the cherry on top, eggs and TP'd the place. This, from what I was told, took about 3 hours in total, and neither the neighbor next to him or across the street said a damn thing or called the cops. The group left and went back to their homes like it was just a typical Halloween night. I found out from the neighbors I was very well known in the neighborhood, and people tended to tell me things with ease, that the amount of damage was around $20,000. This was in 1990 to 91, so a ton of money, and it seems that the group destroyed some very precious things that he had. Now, the one thing that they did that I am not proud of is they dumped the urn that contained his late wife's ashes. I think that this was a dick move, but I still believed he deserved it. This asshole was furious, but no one saw a damn thing. It took him about a year to get everything fixed. He told the neighbor that his car insurance would not cover the damage to the car, and he had to buy a new one. And the car was one of those old Lincoln land boats that would probably add another 15 to 20K onto the total. Police were called, but there was nothing found. This was before DNA and all the fancy CSI shit. So it was pretty much dust for Prince and be on their merry way. He tried to go after sweet old lady, but it fizzled. There was no proof she had anything to do with it. The great thing about all this, there was never another cat that vanished from the area. The asshole died about a year before I left the neighborhood at 18. From what I heard from a neighbor, he was raging about what happened to anyone who listened. Once I was able to roam again, I was able to get the Polaroids from a friend who gave them to my mom in a sealed envelope. I went to sweet old lady and showed her the pics. She just smiled and gave me $20. She lived for another 3 years. She was wonderful during that time. I wish I still had the Polaroids, but they were lost when I got kicked out of an apartment due to my asshole ex. But that is another story for this sub. Wow, that was more intense than I expected it to be. I get emotional easily, and once I knew that animals were going to get hurt, I kinda wanted Jesse to tell this story instead. Still, I'm completely satisfied with the outcome, and honestly feel that that son of a bitch got exactly what he had coming to him. I would absolutely love to read your thoughts in the comments, and if you'd like me to read more from this sub, I'll do it for you, because I adore you all. One more quick shout out to Causey Camden, as well as Trisha Smith and Bonnie Scott. Bonnie, I hope this story didn't break your heart, as I know you have your little kitty cat Loki, who is very important to you. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in with me, Spongebob Squarepants. What did you think of this story? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. Don't take any crap sitting down. Remember to fling it back swiftly in the faces of your oppressors. I'll catch you in the next one.